Hey, in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how you can stop giving your power away to other people, other situations and experiences. So when it comes to transformation work and doing ego work and working with the ego, we have to really see the areas that we are weak, okay? And the biggest problem with this is the ego doesn't want us to see our weaknesses because your ego is built upon your weaknesses. So your ego will do everything it can to keep your weaknesses out of sight. So then when it comes to doing transformation work, it's very difficult because we've got this persona, this ego that's constantly hiding things about ourselves because you don't want to see them. So we can use techniques, ideas such as projection, right? So projection, you're probably all familiar with, is when we give power or we project our own stuff onto something or someone else, onto something external usually. And when we do this, we can actually use the projection as a tool to tell us or show us what we need to work on, if that makes sense. So we're actually using reality and the difficulties we have and the projections we put out to tell us what my blind spots are. Because like I've said, your ego is going to hide your blind spots and your weaknesses from you. But we can look at the world, we can look at the things we get triggered by, the things that we project upon, and we can identify our weaknesses. And when you identify your weaknesses, then you can actually fix them. And this is one of the most powerful parts of the ego, is that it doesn't want to show you them. So in this model, I'm just going to show you some examples, some general examples of how you're projecting and giving your power away. And when you begin to see this, you can fix it. You can reclaim your power. And that's what this game is all about. So to begin with, I'm just going to show you these 3 examples. Let's say this is you, right? I'll explain the lasers coming out of the eyes in a minute. And let's say this is all your unresolved stuff from the past, all your trauma, all the negative beliefs, you're unlovable, you're afraid, and whatever else that went on for you. But you're blind to it and you can't see it because you're looking outward. This is what I mean. This is your ego. It's always looking outward. It doesn't see what's going on subconsciously unless you do a lot of work on it. And what we tend to do is we project all of this stuff onto people, onto situations. So what I like to say is that people don't have power over you. Situations do not have power over you. You actually give them the power. Then it feels like, oh, this person has power over me. No, you didn't realize that you were giving them the power. Because reality is neutral. You don't see things the way that they are. You see things the way that you are. It's one of the truest spiritual statements that you can really come to understand. Okay, and so this model will help you understand that. So first example I've got here, let's say this is a female, this is just some dude, some guy, and he's very attracted to this girl, right? This works in any dynamic you want. This is just an example. So he's very attracted to this girl, he sees this girl and he gets very obsessed with her, and he almost puts her on a pedestal and puts so much power and like energy to her, let's say, and he gets obsessed with her. Now, I'm sure some people, many of you, have been in this situation where you've got obsessed with someone. Maybe it was in teenage years, maybe it was when you were older, maybe even now you're going through something like this. The thing is, that power that you're putting on that person does not belong to that person. They are not as amazing. They are not as amazing as you think they are. I'm sorry to burst the bubble. What's actually happening is you've got a lot of unresolved, unmet needs, which you don't know about, and you're projecting them out onto this person. So you maybe didn't feel like you got the love you needed from one of your parents. So then guess what? It gets projected onto someone who resembles that. Sometimes if you didn't feel like you got the love you needed from your mother, you would potentially project that on to other females, as a general example. And then other things, you might just feel like you're unworthy and you might somehow think, okay, if I get with this person, they're going to make me feel good enough. None of these things work. And all you're doing is giving your energy away. And it actually doesn't work in attracting that person to you 9 times out of 10. Putting someone on a pedestal just does not work. right? People want to feel they're on the same level. Nobody wants to date someone who's below them, but it's difficult to understand that when you're caught up in this dynamic. You've probably heard that famous saying as well, if you treat her like a star, she'll treat you like a fan. That's exactly it. So when we begin to withdraw our projections and we see, okay, there's stuff in me that I need to resolve, and then in actual fact, that person doesn't deserve that much attention from me. Nothing wrong with you pursuing that person, there's a general attraction there, but not all the stuff you put on them. And if you actually healed this stuff and saw where, really what you've got to do is you've got to look at what you're projecting onto them, really inquire about it, journal about it, shadow work, all these type of things, and then begin to see how these things are a part of your character and how you can begin to kind of get these needs met yourself, right? Because you, underneath all of this stuff, you are all the love and value anyway. You're already it. You don't need to displace it. The problem is you don't see it in yourself. Another example I've got here, let's say this is your boss at work, made him try to look angry, just looks more sad. So let's say this is your boss at work, and you think your boss is always giving you a hard time, he's always on your case, and he just makes your life very difficult. I mean, there may be a little element of that, but a lot of the time we're also projecting a lot of our unresolved stuff around authority. A lot of us have issues around authority as well. Maybe your father was a disciplinarian or something, or you had some rough time with authority growing up. So you've took all this unresolved stuff and now you project it onto anyone you perceive as being an authority. And it changes the way you interact with them. Every little thing they do, you see that as though, okay, this person's out to get me. Why is he so bad to me, or she, or whatever? Most of the things you see aren't actually there. You're just zoning in on them based upon your own unresolved stuff. It's crazy. It's like you've got this lens and you only choose to see certain things and you block out everything else. How absurd is that? So instead of just seeing things as they are objectively, which is where we want to get to, we're just constantly putting meaning and giving our power away to things that don't deserve it. And the final one I got on here was just money, just another common popular one. A lot of people can get obsessed with saving money. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this again, but again, sometimes, a lot of the time, we have unresolved needs. We think we're worthless, and we might feel like when I get all this money, I'm going to be worthy. People are going to like me. I'm going to be popular. Again, usually we're just projecting a lot of our stuff onto this external object. It doesn't belong there. And the way you can start to do this work is just to look at the things that you get obsessed about and really begin to question if that obsession is kind of necessary. Maybe you can still go and pursue this girl without being obsessed about her. Maybe you can still have a boss without always feeling like he's out to get you. Maybe you can still pursue money without being obsessed about it. And maybe if you did it the way I'm telling you, everything would happen a bit more easily and a bit more smoothly. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to become more objective. We want to become the witness or the watcher of experience. That might feel a bit bland, but it's not. It's a place of power, because then things don't control you. You have control over them. You can let yourself go a little bit in certain situations. You don't always have to be this observer, but you don't keep giving your power away to things that don't deserve it. And that puts you in a position of power, okay? So every time you get obsessed with any of these things, think about that's energy, right? That's energy you're giving away. I want you to reclaim the energy. And that'll actually help your ego begin to dissolve as well, because the problem is you can't see your blind spots. Because you can't see your blind spots, you're just giving your power away all the time. And this is a problem. This makes you unhappy. So journal about this, think about this, contemplate on this, the things that you're obsessed about, the things that you give your power away to, and try to see what is unresolved in you. Like, what are you seeking in these things? If you contemplate it enough, you'll get the answers. Another thing you can do is you can work on being more grounded. I might make another video on this. And being grounded means you're just more present. So when you are around certain people or in certain situations, you just don't get pulled into them, right? You're solid, you know where you stand, you're just present. So that's an important topic, which we'll talk about later. But that is everything I've got to talk about in the video. I hope it helped you out. But until next time, God bless.